So if you care to go back on this one, I just put it up. This is about me being kidnapped, and I wrote about mind control murders and was flown out to Larry Flint's because he was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And I usually have all this laid out where he endorsed me in pictures of my father and the double that was used that married Wallace Simpson and a bunch of the stuff, pictures and photos and of the mind control murders. But at the point when this tape just went off, and I'm going to I don't know, so that maybe if you care to look at them, you can put them together because it's hard to get enough background on it so that you know where I'm going with it. What I wanted to say was I moved into from Moonraker after doing the book, and Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, March the 6th of 78. And so much was happening to me and the boys. I was going to Tom Sharon, the DA. Buddy Darden later ran in a campaign with me, and he won, by the way, and I think he was a very good district attorney of Cobb County. So was Tom Sharon. I don't know why the law enforcement, I don't know, but the law enforcement hasn't worked for me that I know of. I can't go to them and get anything done. So I went to, when I got this was given to me, by the way, so I could upload YouTube, and I'm on Facebook, and somebody has stolen my Facebook account. But anyway, I started turning to the social media because of the law. I can't get a suit against any of these people or get to go home without an attorney. And the attorneys, when I've gotten one, the last one I got was Eugene Kaiser back in Atlanta. And that was in 75, late 75, early 76. And so I can't get an attorney. They will Xerox the information and hear it, maybe a little of it, and then they leave town in a couple of days or weeks. So anyway, I'm saying that a lot. I wanted to get this point done, though. After so much happened, I moved into Laurelwood from Moonraker. Got the letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79, U.S. Attorney Harper, national security involved, ongoing investigation. Well, if they told, I didn't know about my kidnapping then, so this is where you need to go back to the other tapes. I found out about my kidnapping and my real name in 83, late 83, and the Brits told me. And so much was happening. The woman who was head of the apartment, the manager, I went to her. I moved in May the 8th of 79. And when I moved in later, it was just me because it was in my name, my deposit, and my two sons, Mark and Scott, were still in school. So later, so much happened. There was sugar put in my son Mark's the lifter of his car, and it would go out, and there was even some murders happen. It was really, and that's a whole ongoing hell. Scare you to death. Your son, you're afraid he's going to get killed. And by the way, that's the one point I want to make here. I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, heir to the British Crown. There was a 99-year seal put on my dad, Edward VIII's forced abdication, and then Poster married Wallace Simpson. My dad was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, American high school teacher, sister to artist George O'Keefe. She was Irish-American, you have to say that, Irish-American, I guess. My mom and dad were beautiful people, and they were forced out. There was an addendum, and I am the legal heir. My Uncle George, Elizabeth's father, who's illegal, George VI, helped kidnap me, Joe Kennedy was ambassador, appointed by Roosevelt, and the Freemasons, Illuminati that's in power now, the Jews, the Bilderbergers, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the very people that kidnapped me are in power now, and Elizabeth and her father. Elizabeth has continued it. If anybody asks her about this, she just doesn't, they just don't talk about it. So anyway, she certainly doesn't want me to come back. Now, I wanted to get to the antifreeze was put in me. I took a couple months after I moved in, I believe it was, about July, because John would come back and he was going down to FBI headquarters with me at least some of the time to try to get something done about all of it. I didn't know about my kidnapping, and the real reason I thought it was the book. So anyway, I took him up to the manager and told her that the things had been happening. She kind of knew, and I told her to make sure it was okay that he was just going to stay there a few nights now and then because he was a truck driver. He also worked for the CIA, I found later. Well, she said it was okay, and no adding him to the lease, no nothing. It was in my name and my security deposit. So now I'm going to skip to April Fool Day of '80. Just before then, in March, so much had happened. My husband's sister, Laura Childers Klein, she's CPA, and they had a firm out in Austin. She lives in Lockhart, Texas. And at the time, they lived in Abilene, Texas. She told me that it was all set up, so I was going to get my sons away from there and get a job, and she was going to let me stay there till I found a job. Well, just before I left to go out there, it's a long trip from Atlanta to there, I stopped in Dallas, and the next morning when I got up, I spent the night, and I called her, and remember, I had just called her before I left, and this was all okay. She suddenly, her attitude changed. Well, you can't come here. You're not coming here, and she slammed the phone down. I turned around and went back to find that my ex-husband had been allowed by the manager to move my furniture used. I didn't have an apartment anymore. It was in his name, my deposit used. I had no key. I had antifreeze put in me a few weeks later, April the 1st of '80. Now that I should have died, I was illegally transported across to Huntsville, Alabama, by Lina Dempsey, the woman who killed her twins, and I was given the name of Peggy Ann Dempsey and married Childers. Here's what I want to get to. I later found I should have died. It was the most horrible way to kill someone. It was a miracle I lived. In that condition, they stuffed me in a car, and I ended up, it was hell. I hope it's all shown. It's unreal the people got into wanting me dead, and the antifreeze and everything. I ended up a couple of months later working for Fred Simpson, the district attorney, Madison County, Huntsville. Passed a background check. Isn't that something? And I didn't even know my real name and why all this was happening at the time. So now then I want to backtrack. I had a hell of a time, and I hope it's shown, and this is going to go out, trying to get it neutralized. I didn't know what was put in me. I did finally get a report, and my ex-husband did, of antifreeze put in me, and I should have died. And they wouldn't give it to me. They gave it to him, and he gave it to me, and I gave copies to everybody. Now, then, here's the kicker. I never got to see my kids but a couple of times. I was afraid they were going to kill them, and my ex-husband was in on it. I didn't know that he had married a woman, and her name is Pelland, Twila Joyce Pelland. She lived in right there in the apartments, Laurelwood Apartments. They already had planned to marry while he was there, so she, in essence, and I quote a cop that told me, she tried to help have me killed later. Whether she was in on the antifreeze, I assume she was, because my ex-husband didn't want to pay alimony. I didn't even get it until things got so bad, and I was so sick and everything. The antifreeze put in me, and I'd worked for the DA. I went through hell, and then I couldn't get a job anymore and pay the rent on an apartment, and I couldn't get anything done about the antifreeze. And in other words, they tried to kill me again. He didn't want to pay alimony, and I didn't know he had married this woman. And that's her name, and she lives in Rutherford, Georgia. Now they lived in Lawrenceville. And it's a hell what they were allowed to do to me, and all of it. the doctors. Nobody's been held accountable for any of it. And the woman that